Shalom, Apostle Hawk coming back at you. Once again, with this truth, giving all praise to Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. I'm going to entitle this, Gog is Ready for Armageddon. This is an article entitled Russia is Building Fallout Shelters to Prepare for a Potential Nuclear Strike. Okay, it says, goes on to say, and this is from the Daily Beast. It says, is this self-defense an implied threat to the West, an excuse for political repression, or all of the above? You see a little girl here with a gas mask on inside of a shelter. Anyway, I'm going to read part of the article. It says, Moscow managers of the Zenit Arena, a giant half-built stadium in St. Petersburg, received an official letter from the Ministry of Emergency Situations last week demanding that they immediately create shelter facilities for wartime. The stadium, under construction for the upcoming World Cup 2018, is located outside the city boundaries, the letter said, but in case of nuclear attack, which the Russians anticipate a nuclear attack by their number one foe, because ultimately, pursuant to the scriptures, there will be a third world war. Russia and America, the two superpowers. Then you think about other powers, new powers like China and so forth. But the two main nations are the Russians and the United States. There will be a war. Armageddon will come to pass pursuant to Revelation, the 16th chapter. Anyway, it says is located outside the city boundaries. The letter said, but in case of nuclear attack, it is in the potential zone of war, destruction, and radiation fallout. So this war would be a nuclear war. The last time Russians heard authorities talk like this about a potential mobilization for a nuclear strike was 20 years ago. So we're talking about 1996, 1997. And it all seemed highly improbable. Now it appears the Kremlin is not joking. Up to 40 million people participated. So the Russian authorities, I guess they care about their people, their citizens. You have an exercise that involved 40 million people of Russia. I don't know the full population of Russia as a whole, but 40 million people, that would cover a lot of people, or some percentage of the Russian population. Anyway, it says up to 40 million people participated in recent civil defense exercises all across the country, learning about how to hide and where exactly to run to in case of a nuclear war. So, that's all I'm going to read. Let me just check out. I might want to read some more. Yeah, that's all I'm going to read. I mean, all you have to do is put in, go to Google and put in Russia is building fallout shelter to prepare for a potential nuclear strike. And the article should pop up. And like I said, this is from the Daily Beast. Anyway, a handful of scriptures came to mind. But I'm going to start with one scripture, see where the Spirit takes me. I may go to other scriptures or other precepts. And bear with me for a minute. Yeah, the scripture I'm going to is Nahum, the 3rd chapter. But I'm just checking out a couple other scriptures. Okay, I'm going to go to this one. Isaiah 9 verse 5 says, "For every battle of the warriors with confused noise and garments rolled in blood, but this war shall be with burning and fuel of fire." Okay, now let's go to Nahum 3. First verse, "Woe to the bloody city, which is America." It is. Now, when you read these scriptures, when you read Isaiah, Jeremiah, Nahum, Ezekiel, these prophetic scriptures, it may speak of, like for example, Isaiah the 13th chapter, when it speaks about Babylon, the prophet Isaiah is actually prophesying about Babylon the Great. So you may come across the word the Assyrians or Babylon. Or in this case, Nahum. We know that there's an ancient biblical Nahum. So this modern Nahum would be America. Remember, these scriptures, the Bible is written in code. It says, "Woe to the bloody city. It is all full of lies and robbery. The prey departeth not. The noise of a whip and the noise of the rattling of the wheels and of the prancing horses and of the jumping chariots." So your modern day chariots and horses represent, cars, trucks, trains, buses. 3rd verse, "The horseman lifteth up both the bright sword and the glittering spear." It's talking about their military might. "And there is a multitude of slain, and a great number of carcasses, and there is none end of their corpses. They stumble upon their corpses." So this is referring to prophetically America when America is destroyed. And basically, you're not going to see corpses, and no one's going to walk around to step over dead bodies. Everything in this country will be dust. 4th verse, "Because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot," which represents America. That's spoken about in Revelation 17. The great whore that sitteth upon many waters, or the woman in red, who are in the woman in red that sitteth upon a scarlet colored beast, a red beast, that's talking about America in league with the NATO and EU nations. Fourth verse again, because the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcraft, because the elite, they attribute their wealth, their power to the dark side, that selleth nations through her whoredoms, and families through her witchcraft. Excuse me. Behold, I am against thee, Most High is against Babylon the Great, saith Yahweh of hosts, and I will discover thy skirts upon thy face. Now I immediately think of the scripture Isaiah the 47th chapter from the first verse on down. You can read that whole chapter. In the 10th verse, it speaks about their power, their witchcraft. So now people are waking up to the truth about America, that it's not this benevolent country that just loves everybody. You know, when you go back, 2, 3, 400 years, you can go back even further than that. When you go back to Columbus, and when Columbus embarked upon that journey to the New World, what he did, he gathered certain of the tribes and brought them back to Spain, and ultimately they enslaved and colonized America, and they went over to mainly the western part of Africa, that continent, and gathered up slaves, which we're being called African Americans, Haitians, and West Indians. This is what took place in the past, and this is the fulfillment of the Bible, of scriptures in the Bible. Deuteronomy the 28th chapter, Joel the 3rd chapter, and other books that speak about us being destroyed, and cast into slavery. So now it's time for this man to be destroyed, and for us, the Israelites, to come up into power. It said, behold, I am against thee, against Babylon the Great, saith Yahweh of hosts, and I will discover thy skirts upon thy face. And I will, there's a saying, modern saying, you were caught with your pants down. That doesn't actually mean that your pants are down. It means that you did something and we caught you in the act, and caught you in a lie or whatever. And I will show the nations thy nakedness, and the kingdoms thy shame. So before Babylon the Great is actually physically destroyed, the whole world is going to pretty much come against this place as being a wicked, hypocritical place. 6th verse, and I will cast abominable filth upon thee, and make thee vile, and will set thee as a gazing stock. Like you have the current president of Donald J. Trump. This guy is Mr. This guy is laden with scandal after scandal. And, the whole world sees this. You have news companies, and we're in the information age. You have news companies such as RT, Russia Today, you have Al Jazeera, you have Press TV, you have the BBC, you have Euro News, and there has to be, you know, hundreds and thousands of news programs. When I say that, I'm talking about people that set up news programs on YouTube or Facebook, or just putting out information. So when anything happens in America, in Babylon the Great, the whole world finds out about it. And when you go to Revelation the 18th chapter, the whole world is going to know about the destruction of Babylon. And you got the right man in power as the president to lead this country into their future, which is Armageddon. 7th verse. And it shall come to pass that all they that look upon thee shall flee from thee and say, Nineveh. We know that there was an ancient Nineveh. This is referring to America. This is another name for America. Nineveh is laid waste and will bemoan her. And will bemoan her. Let me read that again. 7th verse. And it shall come to pass that all they that look upon thee shall flee from thee and say, Nineveh is laid waste. Who will bemoan her? Hence shall I seek comforters for thee. Now what comes to mind is, let me go to that. Revelation 18. Verse 11. It says, and the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her. This is America, Babylon the Great. For no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. Let me jump up. Start from the 7th verse. Revelation 18 verse 7. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. And that's what, Americans say, Edomite Americans, I would say, that they'll never be destroyed. That's the mantra that's put out there. It says, therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. That fire is referring to the ICBMs that will be shot from the other side of the planet. Russia being the chief capital nation. For strong is Yahweh, the Most High, who judges her. And make no mistakes, this is talking about Babylon the Great and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her. Nations became rich by way of Babylon the Great. Shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. Because like I said, you have all these news outlets around the world, major news outlets. So this is going to be televised around the world. It's going to be televised on BBC. It's going to be televised on Euro News. It's going to be televised on RT. It's going to be televised on Press TV, Al Jazeera, and wherever you go on the planet, you have established news outlets. And this is going to be breaking news around the planet. You know, they made a big deal. It was the whole world found out at the same time about the World Trade Center back in 2001. Now, that's nothing compared to what's going to take place in the future. You know, when the World Trade Centers were destroyed or brought down, you saw this billowing smoke go up, and it went up for a while, for a long time. We passed the World Trade Center after it was destroyed, maybe like a week later, and there was smoke that kept going up, and I believe the smoke went up for maybe a month or so, something like that. You can research it yourself. But we went down there and we went right past it, and you had people that was around about the World Trade Center mourning the destruction of it. So the same thing can happen when this place is destroyed. And the main reason why these other nations will mourn it, because they're not going to make money anymore. 9th verse again, and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication went to bed with America, made deals, accepted democracy, and lived deliciously with her, shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. And that's also 1 hour. It's going to take 1 hour. That's also mentioned in Revelation, the 9th chapter. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. They're not going to make money. Okay, so now let's go back to Nahum 3, verse 7. It says, And it shall come to pass that all they that look upon thee shall flee from thee, and say, Nineveh or Babylon is laid waste. Who will bemoan her? Whence shall I seek comforters for thee? Art thou better than Populus? No, that was situate among the rivers that had the waters round about it, whose rampart was the sea, and her wall was from the sea. And the U.S. is covered by the Atlantic and the Pacific. Atlantic on the west, east coast, Pacific on the west coast, covered by waters. Ethiopia and Egypt were her strength, and it was infinite. Put and Luban were thy helpers. Because in the ancient world, ancient Nineveh, they did trade with the nations round about them. And that's how nations become great, through trade, through merchandising, buying and selling. 10th verse. Yet was she carried away, she went into captivity, her young children also were dashed in pieces at the top of all the streets. and they cast lots for her honorable men. You can go back to Joel, the 3rd chapter, and read about that. So it's all coming out. That's why they're putting out or attempted to put out textbooks, basically deleting the slave trade of so-called Negroes. It says, and they cast out for her honorable men, and all her great men were bound in chains. And that signifies slavery. You can't make that. You can't make the transatlantic slave trade a light subject. And us as a people going into slavery is definitely fulfillment of Scripture. Thou also shalt be drunken, thou shalt be hid, thou also shalt seek strength because of the enemy. And what are you drunk off? You drunken off of this belief that you can't be taken down. All thy strongholds shall be like, and that's why they put Donald J. Trump, they put him in office. The elite, the shadow government put him in office. To build you devils up, to build up your pride once again. And because you had eight days of what you call this nigger, Obama, whom you call a nigger, behind closed doors and out in the open. So you welcome with open arms Donald J. Trump to be the president, because what is his mantra? Make America great again. America's not going to be great again. It's had its run. The Romans, the pagan Romans, going back about 2,000 years ago, they thought they would never be destroyed or go down. They went down, and here they are back again, because this is Rome all over again, the Roman Empire all over again. It says in 12th verse, all thy strongholds shall be like fig trees with the first striped figs. If they be shaken, they shall fall into the mouth of the eater. It's talking about you're going to have a weak defense. There's nothing that's going to stop the ICBM missiles from destroying this place. I'm only speaking fact pursuant to the Scriptures, and you will not accept it because you don't understand the Scriptures. Behold, thy people in the midst of thee are women. The gates of thy land shall be set wide open unto thy enemies. The fire shall devour thy bars. Thy bars is the defense. You're not going to have a defense against these missiles. Draw thee waters for the siege, fortify the strongholds. Go into clay and tread the mortar. Make strong the brickling. It says, there shall the fire devour thee, which is Babylon the Great. The sword shall cut thee off, and the sword represents the ICBM missiles attacking this place. It shall eat thee up like the cankerworm. Make thyself many. Now when you look up cankerworm, it goes back to the word locust. Cankerworm, caterpillar, it goes back to the word locust, which devours crops, and they come in millions, and once the locusts come, you can't stop them. Make thyself many as the cankerworm. Make thyself many as the locust. Let me read that again, 15th verse. There shall the fire devour thee, the sword shall cut thee off. It shall eat thee up like the cankerworm. So that fire and that sword represents these ICBM missiles. So they're going to come like cankerworms and a locust. You know, when the locusts come, if it's a bright sunny day, they darken the sky. So the same thing with these missiles. 16th verse. Thou hast multiplied thy merchants above the stars of heaven. The cankerworm spoileth and fleeth away. So once these missiles do their damage, you're not going to see these missiles no more. It says, thy crown are as the locust, and thy captains as the great grasshoppers, which camp in the hedges in the cold day. But when the sun arises, they flee away, and their place is not known where they are. So when locusts do their damage and they go, you can't find. They go, they leave, they're gone. Once they eat whatever crops they eat. So it's the same thing with these missiles. After these missiles hit this place, you're not going to see the missiles no more, because the missiles would have done its job. 18th verse. Thy shepherds slumber, O king of Assyria. Now it went from Nineveh to Assyria. So these are code names for Babylon the Great. Thy nobles shall dwell in the dust. And let me click on that word dust. Oh, we don't got to read that, because it goes to the word people. It says, 18th verse again, thy shepherds slumber, O king of Assyria. Thy nobles shall dwell in the dust. Thy people is scattered upon the mountains, and no man gathereth them. There is no healing of thy bruise. So, you know, this is a countdown since Donald J. Trump became president. This is countdown to Armageddon. Thy wound is grievous. All that hear the brute of thee shall clap their hands over thee. For upon whom have not thy wickedness passed continually? So there's going to be a lot of happy people on this planet when this place is destroyed. And this place will be destroyed. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom.